Part 49. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 481. At this time, Li Yuanba felt that the panic feeling just now came again. This time, he didn't hesitate at all. He immediately turned around and swung his hammers, and again I 1/4 two loud bangs. At this time, Li Yuanba was surprised to find that what flew towards him this time was not a bow and arrow, but two small halberds, and they were shot by the noisiest strong man. Li Yuanba looked back at Huangzhong. At this time, he had no strength to resist at all, so Li Yuanba fortunately ignored him and rushed towards the strong man who had just shot the halberd. Anyone who can sneak up on him in battle must die. This is the belief that Li Yuanba has always adhered to. At this time, Dian Wei was a little hesitant when facing Li Yuanba, who was flying towards him. Li Yuanba's blow just now showed great power, and even though he raised his halberds, he was still knocked away. Although he suffered some internal injuries because he was thick-skinned and much stronger than Huangzhong, he could still persevere and at least be able to block Li Yuanba's blow. At this moment, Li Yuanba rushed towards him. If he shot a small halberd at him from such a short distance, Dian Wei was confident of seriously injuring him. However, in this case, he would not have time to defend himself, and he would most likely be smashed into pieces by his hammer. Sauce. Dian Wei struggled for a moment, but finally chose to fight for his dignity. He put down the black iron halberds, took out two small halberds from his arms, looked at Li Yuanba who was getting closer and closer, raised his hand and shot out. Li Yuanba did not expect that the other party would not resist with a life-for-life attitude, but continued to shoot the halberd at him, and was shocked. He had not yet fought against the Dragon Emperor, so naturally he was not willing to kill this strong man, so he had to withdraw his hammers and block the two small halberds. But his momentum did not diminish, still like Dian, and at this time Dian Wei had no time to make the next move. Seeing that his ultimate move did not hurt Li Yuanba, and the opponent's sledgehammer swung towards him again, he couldn't help but close his eyes. However, he thought he would win this time, but he didn't expect that he suddenly felt someone pulling his shoulder, and then seemed to move instantly, avoiding Li Yuanba's fatal blow. Only then did Dian Wei open his eyes and found that the person standing in front of him who had just saved his life was Lu Feng. On the other side, Zhao Yun and Lu Buletin had already helped Huangzhong up. Lu Feng stared at Li Yuanba, but said to Dian Wei, Lu Buletin and others, now you know Li Yuanba's strength. In fact, I don't let you fight him because you are not his opponent yet. And you are all my right-hand men in conquering the world, and I don't a Euro trademark T want to lose any of you. Well, now you retreat, I am enough to deal with Li Yuanba. At this time, Lu Buletin and others already knew the relationship between them and Li Yuanba. With the gap between them, I believe that no one can beat him except Lu Feng. And they had enough confidence in Lu Feng, so they withdrew directly to the Dragon Kingdom's camp without saying anything. Li Yuanba looked at Lu Buletin and others who were retreating, but did not stop him, because from the beginning to the end, his target was only the Dragon Emperor. Since the Dragon Emperor had already stood up, he had no thoughts about the life and death of others. Go ahead and take care of it. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 482. At this time, Lu Feng was holding a black jade gun, riding a black and shiny black unicorn that was as black as ink, and looked at Li Yuanba intently. He knew that to deal with a Wuji general like Li Yuanba, it was useless to rely solely on human sea tactics. Only generals of the same level could entangle him or directly defeat him. Just like Xiang Yu, the overlord of Western Chu, Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, deployed heavy troops in Gexia in order to defeat him. He led 300,000 troops by famous generals such as Han Xian, Yingbu, and Pen Yu to besiege 100,000 Chu troops. However, even though Liu Bang sent so many famous generals, he still had nothing to do against Xiang Yu. In the end, he had to resort to the strategy of besieged on all sides to destroy the Chu army's morale. However, Xiang Yu still led 28 riders to charge back and forth among the 300,000 Han troops, and finally fought his way to the vicinity of Wujiang River. In the end, the famous general Xiang Yu was still unstoppable even when surrounded by hundreds of thousands of Han troops. If he had not felt shameless and committed suicide in front of the Jiangdong elders, perhaps the 4.5-year struggle between Chu and Han for hegemony would still have continued. Xiang Yu is like this, and so is Li Yuanba at this time, so only Lu Feng himself can defeat him. However, Lu Feng knew that Li Yuanba had the intelligence of a 3-year-old child and had a very good relationship with Li Shimin. If Wei Zheng succeeded in getting Li Jiancheng to kill Li Shimin, he could take this opportunity to recruit Li Yuanba under his command. Thinking of this, Lu Feng decided to hide his strength and try to draw a tie with Li Yuanba or narrowly defeat him, so that Li Jiancheng would not have such a great sense of crisis towards him, and then he could kill Li Shimin with confidence. Lu Feng had been thinking about his plan and took the initiative to attack, but Li Yuanba couldn't wait any longer. He shouted to Lu Feng, Emperor Longguo, "Since you don't attack, then Yuan Yu Shui." Since Li Yuanba knew Lu Feng after defeating Yuan Chengdu with 4 moves, he was waiting to fight Lu Feng. At this moment, the opportunity was right in front of him, so he couldn't wait and directly attacked Lu Feng. Li Yuanji and Tang Dajun, who were watching the battle from a distance, saw Li Yuanba taking the initiative to attack Lu Feng, and their hearts beat faster and their breathing became rapid. Just when Dian Wei and 4 others besieged Li Yuanba, Li Yuanji was already sweating. Although the 4 of them had no chance of winning against Li Yuanba alone, and in the first encounter between the two sides, Li Yuanba knocked all 4 of the opponent's men away with 1 move. Seeing this situation, Li Yuanji felt very complacent in his heart. Although the 4 people who had just killed Master Shang and his disciples showed excellent martial arts skills, they still had no power to fight back against Li Yuanba. Even after 1 move, Li Yuanji was ready to celebrate that Li Yuanba instantly killed 4 enemy generals, but the next development instantly exceeded Li Yuanji's expectations. First, the bow and arrow shot by Huang Zhong almost killed Li Yuanba. Even though he was dozens of feet away from the battlefield, Li Yuanji could still clearly feel the strong murderous intent on the arrow. He believed that if the person facing this arrow was not Li Yuanba but anyone else, even Yuan Chengdu, he would definitely be seriously injured. Fortunately, Li Yuanba's martial arts skills were strong enough to block the 3 arrows, and he rushed towards Huang Zhong with a chance to smash him to death. However, just as Li Yuanji breathed a sigh of relief, Na Dian Wei threw 2 more small halberds. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 483. What he didn't expect was that these 2 small halberds were as powerful as Huang Zhong's arrow, causing Li Yuanba to almost be injured again. The successive stunts performed by the generals of the Dragon Kingdom made Li Yuanji, who was originally full of confidence, worried for a long time. Fortunately, Li Yuanba finally withstood the pressure and started a one-on-one duel with the Dragon Emperor. Since it was a one-on-one duel, Li Yuanji no longer worried. After all, he had never seen anyone able to block the 3 moves of this monster Li Yuanba. Facing Li Yuanba's full blow, the Dragon Emperor actually stood there and tried to block it. At this time, Li Yuanji seemed to have seen the Dragon Emperor being smashed to pieces by Li Yuanba's hammer, and the Dragon Kingdom being completely destroyed by him. However, the final result was completely beyond his expectation. I-1/4. A loud thunder-like sound came from the point where the two weapons were handed over, and spread quickly to the surroundings. Except for the two parties standing in the field, everyone else covered their ears in discomfort. Before this, no one could imagine that in the battle between two generals, the sound of the collision of weapons would be so loud that blood flowed from the ears of some soldiers in Li Tang's army. The huge sound waves erupted by Lu Feng and Li Yuanba's attack actually shattered their eardrums. Seeing such a scene, the soldiers on both sides involuntarily took a dozen steps back, as if they wanted to get away from them as quickly as possible to avoid being injured again. However, Lu Feng and Li Yuanba who were present were not shocked by the sound. The only difference was that Li Yuanba took 3 steps back, while Lu Feng remained motionless as if he had fallen to the ground. Seeing such a situation, Li Yuanji and even the entire Li Tang army were shocked. They had never thought that someone could actually defeat Li Yuanba in terms of strength. Li Yuanba took 3 steps back and then stopped and said excitedly, "Not bad, not bad. He is indeed the person who can kill Yuan Chengdu with 4 moves. He was able to take Yuanba's blow with 80% of the strength and even knocked Yuanba away. This has never happened before. It seems that, Yuanba will also use his full strength." After listening to Li Yuanba's words, Li Yuanji felt reassured. It turned out that he only used 8 points of his strength. As long as he used his full strength, he still had a chance to defeat Lu Feng. After listening to Li Yuanba's words, Lu Feng felt a little lucky. He wanted to show the illusion of a tie with Li Yuanba, but he didn't expect that Li Yuanba was blown away in the first fight, making him regret that he had used 50% of his strength. Fortunately, Li Yuanba didn't use all his strength. He will definitely attack with all his strength next, and he can just deal with it with 50% of his strength. After thinking about it, Lu Feng flicked his jade spear and took the initiative to attack Li Yuanba. At the same time, he shouted again, "When?" Li Yuanba saw Lu Feng rushing toward him, he naturally wanted what he wanted. At that moment, he also urged Wan Liyun to violently attack him. Accelerating forward, at the same time, he raised the drum, urn, and golden hammer in his hand proudly and slammed it down. I-1/4, I-1/4. Li Yuanba's double hammers hit the black jade gun hard, and 2 loud noises were heard in succession. Even Li Yuanji and others who had stepped back more than 10 steps were still shocked and felt a tightness in their chests. Feeler reminds you, 3 things to do when reading, collect and recommend. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 484. As 2 huge muffled sounds came from the center of the fight between Lu Feng and Li Yuanba, there was also a visible airflow spreading to the surroundings. Several of the Li Tang soldiers standing in front were even knocked unsteady by the airflow and sat directly on the ground. More people were also shaking. As for Li Yuanji, because he was the commander-in-chief of the army and stood at the front, after 2 consecutive huge muffled sounds, he only felt an indescribable dullness in his chest, followed by a sweetness in his throat, and he felt better after spitting out a mouthful of old blood. When Lu Feng and Li Yuanba fought this time, Li Yuanba used 100% of his strength, while Lu Feng still used 50% of his strength. Li Yuanba felt that the two were evenly matched, and he suddenly became more interested. Ever since he used his full strength when fighting Pei Yuanqing a long time ago, no one has been able to force him to use more than 80% of his strength for a long time, so now it feels very satisfying to use his full strength against Lu Feng. So much so that he shouted excitedly, "Good Emperor, good Emperor." As soon as he said these words, both Lu Feng and Zhao Yun and others were dumbfounded. In the eyes of all the people and officials of the Dragon Kingdom, Lu Feng was incomparable. There is no doubt that he was a good emperor who thought wholeheartedly for the Han people, and he can even be said to be the best emperor in history. All the people of the Dragon Kingdom were happy to have an emperor like Lu Feng, and Zhao Yun, Lu Buletin, and others were also proud to serve under Lu Feng. It can be said that Lu Feng is a good emperor, which is recognized by everyone, but Li Yuanba changed his original intention when he said it, because he only thought that Lu Feng was a good emperor based on his strength. In Li Yuanba's eyes, as long as he has great strength and can take a powerful blow, he is a good emperor, no matter whether he is dedicated to the people or whether he is ignorant or ignorant. The excited Li Yuanba shouted "Come again," and then urged Wan Liun to rush towards Lu Feng again. Since Lu Feng had made up his mind not to show his strength, he naturally would not ignore him, so the two started to fight against each other. Charged. Because the Moyo spear was long, Lu Feng stretched out his spear first and stabbed Li Yuanba in the face. The spear was as fast as lightning, but Li Yuanba was not afraid. He clamped Lu Feng's spear with the hammers of his left and right hands. The exposure of Li Yuanba's hand once again shocked the soldiers on both sides. Even Lu Buletin, Zhao Yun, and others did not expect that Li Yuanba had mastered the control of the drum, urn and golden hammer. You must know that this hammer is a sphere. It is not easy to clamp something as small as the body of the black jade gun with two war hammers. Even if the black jade gun does not move, it is very difficult to clamp it. And Li Yuanba was able to clamp this extremely fast black jade spear in one go, and he used two war hammers weighing 400 kilograms, which was even more difficult. This is enough to show that Li Yuanba is not just a brute force. He can have such reaction speed and eyesight, and his own martial arts skills are definitely not weak. However, although Lu Feng only used 50% of his strength, his own martial arts skills were not limited. At that moment, his wrist flicked, and the power from his hand caused the Moyo spear to tremble. It was not easy for Li Yuanba to clamp the black jade gun between his two hammers. As a result, the black jade gun shook, which was equivalent to the rolling of 3 circles. He was suddenly unable to use any strength and could no longer control the black jade gun. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 485. However, Mo Yuqiang escaped from the trap, but Li Yuanba didn't care. He turned from defense to offense at the moment, hitting Lu Feng with his 2 hammers, one left and one right. At the same time, Lu Feng did not take a step back, grabbed the bottom of the black jade gun with both hands, and shook the black jade gun quickly and briefly with his wrist, causing the body of the black jade gun to shake very much near the tip. The vibration of the gun body hit Li Yuanba's sledgehammer, causing his warhammer to deviate from its original route and unable to hit Lu Feng. At this time, in order to avoid the huge noise when the two men fought, the soldiers of both sides had withdrawn dozens of feet away and watched the battle between the two men from a distance. But even though they were far away, they could still clearly see the two people going back and forth in the field, and were shocked by the force displayed by the two people. The Dragon Kingdom side is better off. After all, they have long known that Lu Feng's martial arts is superior to Li Yuanba. At this time, he is just holding back his strength. As long as he uses his full strength, Li Yuanba will be defeated in an instant. But Li Tang was obviously completely shocked by Lu Feng's martial arts. Many people who were able to follow Li Yuanji as the vanguard to attack Yangzhou followed Li Shimin to participate in the battle outside Wei County that day. They watched with their own eyes as Li Yuanba chased the 2 million troops of the 16th Root Army with 2 hammers, killing. Even those who did not participate in that battle had witnessed Li Yuanba's bravery in defeating the armies of Yu Wenhuaji and Wang Shishang by himself during the attack on Luoyang and Weigong, and breaking the city with 1 hammer. But this is Li Yuanba, facing Lu Feng, the emperor of the Shenlong Empire. He was still unable to kill him in an instant. Even after the two of them went back and forth for dozens of rounds, they still looked competent. However, what they didn't know was that the dozens of fights between the two were just the beginning. The battle between Lu Feng and Li Yuanba actually continued for 3 days without a winner. The soldiers buried pots and cooked rice on the battlefield, and then took turns eating and sleeping in order to prevent enemy attacks. This was unprecedented. As for Lu Feng and Li Yuanba, they were completely two monsters. They had not had a drop of water for 3 days and had not closed their eyes. They had been fighting, but they still maintained strong fighting power. Lu Feng had the job transfer palace and could absorb energy through the luck golden dragon, so he could maintain energy even if he didn't eat, drink or sleep. And Li Yuanba is even more of a monster, a martial arts idiot. With an opponent like Lu Feng fighting with him, he can't wait to keep fighting like this. The flowers bloomed at both ends, one branch on each side, but it was said that at this moment, Wei Zheng, who received Lu Feng's order, concealed his name and changed his name to Ren Zheng, and came to work for Li Jiancheng. The so-called Ren Zheng is a name that Wei Zheng came up with based on his own name after thinking for a long time. Ren is homophonic for human, and Ren Zheng when put together is Zheng. Although Wei Zheng was Li Shiman's prime minister in history and was good at political affairs, his strategy and military capabilities were not weak. At least no one could match Li Jiancheng and the northern princes he faced. Under Wei Zheng's advice, Li Jiancheng quickly eliminated Gao Kaidao, Lu Wuzhu, Guozai and other princes, and unified the north. Therefore, Ren Zheng's status under Li Jiancheng has become higher and higher, and he has become one of Li Jiancheng's confidants. Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 486. Just as Li Jiancheng's army destroyed Gao Kaidao, Lu Wuzhu, Guozai, and others, he also recruited many enemy civil servants and generals, and his momentum reached the highest peak in history. One day after Li Jiancheng pacified the northern princes, good news came from the armies of Li Shiman and Li Yuan in the west. Under the joint encirclement and suppression of their 2 armies, all the princes in the west were also completely wiped out. At this point, Li Tang had completely unified northern China, and all the states and counties north of the Yangtze River had become Li Tang's territory. Subsequently, Li Yuan and Li Shiman immediately led the army back to the court and moved Li Tang's capital from his hometown in Taiyuan to Chang'an, which was easy to defend and difficult to attack. At the same time, Li Yuan issued an imperial edict for Li Jiancheng to lead his army back to Chang'an to receive the reward. After Li Jiancheng received the imperial edict, he naturally set off immediately without delay, and arrived in Chang'an 1 day later. After Li Jiancheng returned to Chang'an, Li Yuan issued an imperial edict the next morning, making Li Jiancheng the prince of the Tang dynasty, Li Shiman the king of Qin, Li Yuanji the king of Qi, and Li Yuanba the king of Zhao. Although Li Yuan had spoken about Li Jiancheng's appointment as the crown prince when he was in the capital of Taiyuan, it was after all that he had said it privately to his ministers and was not formal. Therefore, he announced the imperial edict in front of all the civil and military officials in the morning. ETA Euro trademark SA done deal. As for Li Shiman's position as king of Qin, he was personally conferred by Emperor Yang of Sui dynasty as early as the Sui dynasty. However, he was the king of Qin in the Sui dynasty at that time, and now he is the king of Qin in the Tang dynasty. Naturally, they cannot be compared. After the canonization was completed, Li Yuan said to Prince Li Jiancheng and King Qin Li Shiman, now King Qi and King Zhao are leading their armies to attack Yangzhou. According to the battle reports sent back from the front line, although there are not many troops, their combat effectiveness is very strong, so the war at this time has fallen into a stalemate. Now the Tang dynasty has unified the entire north, leaving only a few counties in the south. Among the various rebel kings in the south, the most powerful one is the Dragon Kingdom. As long as the Dragon Kingdom is eliminated, the south can be pacified. Convenience is just around the corner. Therefore, I know that you two have been fighting for several months, but now is not the time to rest. After the Dragon Kingdom is eliminated and the world is unified, there will be plenty of time to rest. After you two go back today, you can rest for a while, and then immediately reorganize your troops. Ma, lead the troops southward in 3 days to assist King Zhao and King Qi to destroy the Dragon Kingdom and completely unify the world for the Tang dynasty. After hearing Li Yuan's words, Li Jiancheng and Li Shimin were also filled with excitement, and immediately took the order and left. That night, Li Jiancheng, who had become the prince, invited a group of his confidants to hold a banquet in the prince's mansion. Wei Zheng, as Li Jiancheng's most promising advisor at present, was naturally invited. At the banquet, Li Jiancheng's confidants toasted to Li Jiancheng and congratulated him on becoming the crown prince. Wei Zheng was the only one who ate food and drank alone and did not interact with others. After getting along with each other for a period of time, Li Jiancheng had already gotten to know this counselor named Ren Zheng. He knew that although he was talented in the world, he was relatively low-key and did not like to communicate with others. So Li Jiancheng didn't take it to heart and continued to drink happily with everyone. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, the banquet gradually came to an end. At this time, Li Jiancheng stood up and walked to the center. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 487. So Li Jiancheng finally concluded my king was able to pacify the north so quickly and was able to completely secure his position as crown prince, all because of your help. Those who attended the banquet today are all my king's most powerful people, trusted subordinates. If I can ascend to the throne in the future, I will definitely not let you down. Today we have a good time drinking and talking, and starting tomorrow, we will devote our energy to the battle south against the Dragon Kingdom. The Dragon Kingdom is no better than the northern princes. As we are strong, we need to rely more on you. After Li Jiancheng said, his officials handed over their hands, first thanking Li Jiancheng for his trust, and then each expressed that they would do their best to pacify the Dragon Kingdom and help Li Jiancheng consolidate his position as the crown prince. Bit. Everyone spoke impassionedly, but Wei Zheng still sat there drinking without raising his head, as if thinking about something. Li Jiancheng knew that among his civil servants and counselors, only Ren Zheng was the most talented. He was the biggest contributor to the rapid pacification of the north. This was Ren Zheng. So after everyone finished talking, Li Jiancheng saw that he still didn't speak, so he took the initiative to say, as I just said, everyone is the hero of being able to quickly pacify the north, but in my heart, Mr. Ren is the first contributor. Sir. Before Mr. Ren came to my hands, although our army had some victories from time to time, we did not achieve a decisive victory. It was Mr. Rena Euro trademark S strategizing that allowed us to defeat our opponents in the shortest time. Therefore, I want to hear a Euro trademark S a toast to Mr. Ren. I hope Mr. Ren can once again demonstrate your ability to strategize in the battle with the Dragon Kingdom in 2 days after. Li Jiancheng finished speaking, he raised his glass and drank it down in one gulp, and everyone looked at God with envy. After drinking for a while, the prince praised everyone, but he could only thank Ren Zheng alone. This was the prince, and it would be a great honor for future emperors to be able to let the prince toast. However, what no one expected was that Cheng had finished the glass of wine in one gulp, but Ren Zheng sneered and said, "Your Highness, is it too early for you to have such a banquet with the ministers just after you became the prince?" Everyone was stunned after hearing Wei Zheng's words, and looked at Ren Zheng with doubts on their faces. They didn't know what he meant by saying this. Now that the prince has received the emperor's imperial edict, could there be any changes? Li Jiancheng frowned slightly after hearing this. After all, these words seemed a bit harsh to him. He was a little unhappy with Ren Zheng in his heart, but he did not show it. Instead, he asked, why did Mr. Ren say this? They all looked at Ren Zheng with ill intentions. After all, The prince had just praised him so much, but he turned around and said this, which was really a bit ignorant. And looking at the prince's expression, he was obviously a little dissatisfied with Ren Zheng's words. After all, Li Jiancheng had just secured his position as the crown prince, and when he was happy, he said these words to undermine the crown prince's elegance. If he couldn't tell a reason, I'm afraid His Highness the Crown Prince would definitely give Ren Zheng a lesson. However, Ren Zheng remained unmoved in the face of everyone's eyes watching the show and Li Jianquan's questioning. Instead, he said even louder, I didn't expect that His Highness was already in trouble and didn't know it, yet he was still in the mood to entertain the ministers. Feeler reminds you, 3 things to do when reading, collect and recommend. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 488. As soon as Wei Zheng said this, everyone who was waiting to see Ren Zheng make a fool of himself was shocked, and even Li Jiancheng had a trace of anger on his face. Everyone yelled, Ren Zheng, how dare you speak so alarmist, don't you want to live? Faced with everyone's accusations, Ren Zheng remained unmoved. Instead, he stared at Li Jiancheng and asked, I would like to ask His Highness the Crown Prince for advice. I wonder what you think of King Qin. Li Jiancheng was originally angry because of Ren Zheng's words, but when he suddenly heard his question, he was a little confused as to why Ren Zheng suddenly changed the subject and asked about King Qin. However, since he had lived in a family like the Li family since he was a child, Qinfu had already become an instinctive reaction. Without thinking, he said, the second brother is more than 10 times more talented than me. Moreover, the second brother is magnanimous and honest. He is smart, has great ambitions since he was a child, and is deeply loved by his father and mother. Now the Tang dynasty is able to unify the entire north, and the second brother is also indispensable. Li Jiancheng said this beautifully, mainly because he wanted to show that he was broad-minded. He was a humble man, so he praised Li Shimin so much. In fact, in his heart, he was very afraid of Li Shimin. After Wei Zheng heard Li Jianquan's words, he sneered and said, it turns out that His Highness the Crown Prince also knows that His Highness King Qin is not only talented and capable, but also has great ambitions. It's just that His Highness King Qin was born in this imperial family. What does his lofty ambition mean? Do you want to be a prince, or do you want to be an emperor? As soon as Wei Zheng said this, everyone around him took a breath, and Li Jiancheng also asked in a deep voice, Ren Zheng, what do you want to say? Wei Zheng looked directly at him. Li Jiancheng said bluntly, you must also know that the prince has no talent to be king and has the ambition to fight for the emperor. Since he was born in an imperial family, if the prince has no talent and no lofty ambitions, it is not a bad idea to become a prince, but since he has talent, if you have ambition, you will definitely have the desire to succeed. Now His Royal Highness the King of Qin is a talented and ambitious prince, and although your highness is the prince now, everything is possible before you ascend the throne. After all, in order to compete for the throne, the princes fought against each other. Things happen from time to time. Yang Guang assassinated Yang Yang in order to become emperor, and even Emperor Wen of the Sui dynasty did not let him go. Using copper as a mirror can correct your clothes, and using history as a mirror, you can know the ups and downs. The lessons learned from the past are clearly visible. How is your highness? You were so careless and relaxed just after becoming the crown prince, but have you ever thought about what if His Highness unfortunately dies during the southern expedition? As soon as Wei Zheng said these words, Li Jianquan's crown prince Honggyun Wanggui shouted, be bold and honest. How dare you speak so alarmistly, do you know what you are talking about? However, facing Wanggui's accusation, Wei Zheng did not even look at him, but stared at Li Jiancheng and said word by word, your highness, although I drank some wine, but I knew very well what I was talking about. I did na Euro trademark T speak just now because I was thinking about how to admonish His Highness. Everything I said and did was to stop His Highness from being immersed in unrealistic fantasies. And ignored the immediate crisis. Li Jiancheng stared at Wei Zheng, and Wei Zheng also looked into Li Jianquan's eyes without showing any weakness. After a long time, Li Jiancheng said, "Ren Zheng, you mean that the second brother will kill me?" King. When Wei Zheng faced Li Jianquan's question, he did not answer directly, but analyzed as His Highness said, "The King of Qin is capable and ambitious, how can he be willing to succumb to His Highness and become the King of Qin?" Read the novel without underlining. Please download Fearless Yao. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 489. Li Yuanba is determined to avenge himself. If he catches up with him, he will definitely die. So, he said to the civil servants and generals behind him, "Give me the order, the army will turn around and break out from the west gate." Since there was no ambush from the Dragon Kingdom at the west gate, when Li Jiancheng issued the order to break out to the west, the soldiers of the Tang dynasty quickly rushed out of Luka city and fled westward. Without the resistance of the Tang army, Lu Feng and others quickly joined Lu Buletin and Huang Zhong, and followed closely behind the Tang soldiers with an army of 200,000 in pursuit. In this battle, Li Jianquan's army served as the defender of the city. Under the charge of Li Yuanba, Zhang Liao, Dian Wei, Su Huang, and others, and coupled with Lu Buletin's 2-quarter-hour blockage at the north gate, nearly 100,000 corpses were still left behind. As for the Dragon Kingdom, Lu Feng's 100,000 direct Dragon Kingdom army once again achieved 0 casualties, but the other 100,000 surrendered troops suffered more than 10,000 casualties. Even so, this was still an exciting victory. At this time, 190,000 troops were chasing more than 1.9 million Tang soldiers. Although the scene was not as good as the day when Li Yuanba chased down 2 million troops alone, but ETA Euro trademark s enough to go down in history. After all, since ancient times, although there have been many battles in which a small number defeated a large number, it is still relatively rare for Dragon Kingdom to chase an enemy force that is 10 times the size of its own forces across the mountains and plains. Of course, we have to exclude the time when Li Yuanba chased and killed an army 2 million times his own. After all, that time was indeed a bit unbelievable. I am afraid that such a scene will never happen again from now on. At this time, Li Jiancheng thought about how high-spirited he was with $3 million, and compared it with his current state of embarrassment. It took only one day for him to meet the Dragon Kingdom, but the situation changed drastically. Therefore, Li Jiancheng had already been filled with anger in his heart, but he had no choice but to do anything. After all, whether it was the military strength of the generals or the combat effectiveness of the army, there was a huge gap between the Tang dynasty and the Dragon Kingdom. The only thing he could do now was to fly westward and finally reach the foot of Nadao Mountain. At this time, at the entrance of the narrow valley, there were still 100,000 troops left by Feng Li and Shui Wanch. Under the leadership of a general, they were in a stalemate with the Dragon Kingdom soldiers on the hillside. Their purpose was to hold Guojia back. Delay time for Feng Li and Shui Wanch's main army. At this time, the general saw Li Jiancheng personally appearing in front of him with nearly 2 million Tang troops in disgrace. Needless to say, he knew that the battle at Luka must have failed and he was chased all the way by the Dragon Kingdom army. The general was also a man who knew how to guess people's hearts and had a good understanding of facial features. When he saw Li Jiancheng retreating to this point, he already guessed that he must be in a bad mood, so he took the initiative to explain the current situation, hoping to be looked upon by Li Jiancheng. He said to Li Jiancheng, "Your Majesty, the army of the Dragon Kingdom has indeed been ambushing on the hillsides on both sides of the valley. I have been in a stalemate with them here for a long time. They have already prepared huge rocks and are waiting for our army to enter the narrow valley. When they were on the road, they pushed it down and injured our army, so if we rush into the narrow road at this time, our army will definitely suffer heavy losses. Hearing this, Li Jiancheng raised his head and looked at the hillsides on both sides, and indeed he could vaguely see the mountains on both sides. There are shadowy figures lurking on the hillside, as well as many boulders that have been prepared. To read the underlined version of the novel, please download the Philu Novel app. A. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 490. Wei Zheng ignored the speechless Wang Gui and continued to say to Li Jiancheng, His Royal Highness King Zhao is not only infinite in power, but also unparalleled in martial arts. In front of him, an army of 2 million is just a bunch of people, just an ant. The most important thing is that, apart from His Majesty and the Queen, King Zhao seems to only listen to His Highness King Qin. If His Highness King Qin asks him to assassinate the prince, he will definitely not hesitate, and whether the East Palace guards can stop it, can you survive King Zhao? After Wei Zheng finished speaking, Wang Gui, Feng Li, Shui Wanch and others fell into silence. In their hearts, they obviously knew that Ren Zheng's words were no longer alarmist, but that it was indeed possible. Li Yuanba himself was not very smart. Not only was he lawless, but he was also a powerful monster. If he really came to assassinate the prince, even a million-strong army would not be able to stop him, let alone hundreds of East Palace guards. At the same time, Prince Li Jianquan's eyes gradually became colder. After all, as his elder brother, he knew Li Yuanba's situation best. Ren Zheng's words were definitely not nonsense and could indeed happen. Li Yuanba didn't have any brotherhood for him, and he didn't respect his elder brother at all. He even wanted to hit himself with his pair of sledgehammers whenever he disagreed. But he is such a monster, but he obeys Li Shiman's words. If Li Shiman asks him to kill him, he will definitely hit him with a hammer without saying a word. Wei Zheng saw that his words had already moved Li Jiancheng, and no one else refuted, and said while the iron was hot. In fact, if it were normal times, King Qin would be worried about the world's fishing boats, and he might not dare to directly find someone to assassinate His Highness. But this time the prince and King Qin worked together. The crusade against the Dragon Kingdom is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for His Highness the King of Qin. If the King of Qin asks King Zhao to kill His Highness when the Dragon Kingdom is eliminated, he will blame the Dragon Kingdom for His Highness's death and declare to the outside world that he is the Dragon King. The Emperor secretly sent someone to assassinate King Qin. However, King Qin was protected by King Zhao and was spared, but Your Highness was unfortunately killed. If His Highness King Qin said this, not only could the crime of assassinating His Highness be pinned on the Dragon Emperor, but he himself would also. If you become a victim, no one will doubt you. Even those who have always been inclined towards you, Your Highness, have doubts about King Qin's remarks, and they will never dare to question it, because after Your Highness, the Crown Prince, is dead, King Qin will have the undisputed throne. Heir. Let alone slandering the King of Qin without evidence is a fool's errand. Even if there is evidence, no one will offend the future emperor for the sake of a dead prince. After listening to Wei Zheng's words, Li Jiancheng felt more and more like there was a high probability that it would become a reality. I was so shocked that a layer of cold sweat broke out on my back, and I woke up a little from the wine. So like a drowning man grabbing the last straw, he hurriedly asked Wei Zheng, since Mr. Ren can think of this, he must have made a plan. Please teach me. At this time, Li Jiancheng was completely overwhelmed by Wei Zheng. He was frightened by what he said. He changed his name from Ren Zheng to Mr. Ren. He no longer called himself the king arrogantly, but directly became I. Obviously, Wei Zheng's words had completely suppressed him. After Li Jiancheng lived, Wei Zheng himself knew this. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao.